Hello, Hoover residents. I'm going to talk about a few different LUMIX camera setups that I have. I want you to rate those down in the comments. And I just wanted to briefly go through these different setups and the different situations that I'm using them for. And I don't know if any of these would, create questions that we can talk about in the comments, but I definitely want you to get in the comments and tell me the type of setup that you're using with your LUMIX camera and maybe what you're using it for, whether you're shooting professional client work or you're making your own video content. But these different setups, some of them, LUMIX is provided. And so I just want to say thank you, LUMIX. Some other things in these different setups are things that I've purchased. But right now, as of this moment, these are all things that I use on a regular basis in the different setups, different situations that I use them for. So I've got the everyday carry setup. I've got the B-roll beast setup. I've got the client workhorse, and then I have the studio content machine setup. I do have a ton of LUMIX content on this channel. If that's something you're interested in, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm going to start with the LUMIX G9ii, and this is what I would consider like an everyday camera, like an everyday carry camera, something that you want to keep in your camera bag like all the time. Now with the G9ii, you're going to have shoot settings like 4K 120, you have open gate shoot settings, you have full vlog installed, you've got real-time LUT, my photo settings, you have a ton of pro features, and if you're into photography, this is a great photography camera as well. I actually put a video together of why I think that the G9ii might actually be one of the best travel cameras right now. Another reason I think this is a great everyday carry camera is the LUMIX 12-35. Technically on the Micro Four Thirds system, it's going to be your 24-70 lens. So if you compare a full frame 24-70 lens to the 12-35 on the G9ii, I mean, you can see the difference. So it's a tiny lens to keep in your camera bag. And then I would combine it with the 35-100 millimeter, which on the Micro Four Thirds system is going to be your 70-200. And this is a full frame 70-200. So just look at the difference. So if you're looking at something to keep in your camera bag on a regular basis, something to walk the streets with, something to travel with, the G9ii combined with the 12-35 and the 35-100, I think is the ultimate setup for an everyday carry. Then I'm going to add one more lens to this setup. This is the LUMIX 9mm. So if you are into vlogging or turning the camera on yourself to do any talking head videos while you're traveling or walking down the street or whatever, this is going to be like a super lightweight setup. And the autofocus is incredibly fast, which makes it so easy just to pull out of your bag real quick, point the camera, and start shooting. So the G9ii right now is my choice for an everyday carry camera. So now let's talk about the GH6, and yes, it is missing the hybrid phase detect autofocus, but combined with the LUMIX 10-25 and then the 25-50, I consider the GH6 a B-roll beast. This is one of my favorite cameras to rig up for any type of shoot. I mean, you have the screen that pops out, you're able to rotate it, you can get a bunch of different angles, shoots 4K 120, HDMI out, open gate shoot settings, full vlog, and a ton of pro features on the GH6 that just makes it an absolute beast for any type of B-roll that you want to get. So other than some cinema lenses that I use with the GH6, my go-to lenses for the GH6 is the 10-25 and the 25-50. So the full frame field of view is going to be 20-50 and then 50-100. And these are super fast lenses as well for a Micro Four Thirds system at f1.7. Now I will say that these lenses, I do feel like they're a little overpriced for what you get with the lens because they're not even stabilized lenses, but they are very powerful and fast lenses. Then if you do want to use these lenses on the G9ii, you have the clutch right here for autofocus or manual focus. And these lenses feel so good with the GH6 for any type of B-roll. So the GH6 is a B-roll beast. All right, the next setup that I'm going to talk about is the LUMIX S5iix, which I consider my go-to client workhorse. And for a ton of the client work that I'm doing right now, I'm using the Sigma 24-70 and then the Panasonic 70-200 f4. So this lens right here, I'm using a lot for any exterior type work. And then the faster Sigma 24-70 at f2.8 is great for a lot of low light situations or anything indoors, great for interviews. I love the versatility of the USB-C port on the S5iix because you can either power the S5iix, or you can record out through the USB-C to a SSD drive. A lot of times I'm shooting 6K open gate because I like that vertical crop for any type of social media work that my clients might need. But you have the raw output through HDMI, you have B-RAW that you can shoot with the S5iix. And so the versatility and the shoot settings and what you can do with the S5iix in professional situations is why it's my go-to for any type of client work. Now I love rigging up the S5iix and I keep the Black Mamba case gauge on it from small rig. That way it's really quick to put a side handle on, mount the battery, or any other accessories that I might need for a professional shoot. So my go-to with the S5iix is the Sigma 24-70 f2.8 and the Panasonic 70-200 f4. And with this setup, I'm able to do basically 85 to 90% of all the client work that I need. All right, the last setup that I'm gonna talk about is actually on the tripod right now, and that is the S5ii, and this is my studio content machine. So a lot of times in the studio, I'm keeping these S primes on here. Right now I have the 18mm and I have it rigged up to the monitor, and this is my go-to in studio cam. A lot of times when I'm shooting content like this, or I have a live stream, this setup, the S5ii, is perfect for what I need to do in the studio. I can shoot 6K open gate if I need to. I've got full vlog, so full color control with the S5ii. A lot of times if I'm shooting a talking head like this, I'll shoot in Cinema 4K. And as a studio cam with these S primes, 35mm, 50mm, 85mm, 24mm, and what I have on here, the 18mm S primes at f1.8, they're super fast, super versatile, and honestly, it's a really small footprint in the studio. And the autofocus on these S primes, even at f1.8, is super fast. It keeps me locked on all the time. Let me check the monitor. Yep, the autofocus is great. And if I don't need a super fast lens, my other content lens is gonna be the Sigma 16-28mm f2.8. A lot of times I like shooting these talking heads a little bit wider. That way I can, kind of get right up into the camera or scoot back. It also makes my space look a little bit bigger than it actually is. But I absolutely love having the S5ii as a studio camera. So that's just an overview look at the cameras that I'm using, the different situations that I'm using these different setups in. Let me know some of the setups that you're using, whether you're making your own content or whether you're doing client work. I'd love to get a conversation started down in the comments about these different LUMIX setups. Now in this video, I talked a little bit about these S prime lenses. I've got a full video popping up on your screen right here about why these S primes, these f1.8 S primes, are so good for the LUMIX S5ii and S5iix. Make sure you go check that out. And if you're not using these lenses, I think you'll really like them.